Welcome to my YouTube channel, One Race, the Human Race, All Human. Today is Saturday, September 4th, 2021.
64 people are believed to have died in the storm-related deaths, with New Jersey, New York, and Louisiana suffering the most fatalities. President Biden yesterday got a closer look at damage in Louisiana. He got an aerial tour of uninhabitable sections of Lafitte, Grand Isle, Port Fourchon, and Lafourche Parish. He promised local leaders and flood victims that no community will be left behind in the recovery. And then just moments ago, the White House announced plans for the president to survey damage in New York and New Jersey on Tuesday. Meanwhile, a new investigation has begun into the death of 4 nursing home patients. They were among 800 patients packed inside a warehouse taken there before Ida struck Louisiana. Health officials say they have significant concerns about conditions at that facility. One woman was relieved when she was able to talk to her 84-year-old mom.
I spoke to her a little earlier today, but she couldn't hear me and really understand me. I could tell she was very upset, but at least I knew she was alive. And if we would have known it would have been a place like this, I would have took her with me. I mean, no matter how hard it would have been.
Well, covering the latest fallout from Hurricane Ida this hour, NBC's Ellison Barber in New Orleans and Gabe Gutierrez in Pine Brook, New Jersey. Let's go first to the Northeast. That is where the tail end of Ida proved much more deadly than when it first made landfall. Gabe, welcome to you. What are you seeing there today?
Alex, this is the swollen Passaic River. It crested overnight, and right now it's about 2 feet above flood stage. The water is receding in many parts of the state, but as is often the case, following natural disasters, some communities feel the impacts of a storm days later because all that water needs to head downstream. Here in New Jersey, the governor says at least 25 people have died and 6 are still missing. The terrifying wall of water burst into this basement in New Jersey. Ida's remnants unlike anything the Northeast had seen. The impacts are not over. Some rivers still rising after record rainfall.
It's terrifying, especially with the kids. You know, it's horrible. Looking at our house like this, it's terrible.
Andres Andrade rode out the storm in Manville, New Jersey with his wife and 2 young kids. As the water rose, they rushed upstairs and had to be rescued.
Did you have any idea that the storm would be this intense?
Never thought of this.
Before and after satellite images show the widespread devastation. President Biden has approved emergency declarations for New York and New Jersey, paving the way for more federal aid. Across the region, officials facing criticism for seemingly being caught off guard.
Climate change is not a hypothetical.
New York City is now implementing new severe weather warnings and basement apartment evacuations after most of the city's deaths occurred in underground living areas.
We can say now that extreme weather has become the norm. We need to respond to it differently.
In Manville, life for Megan and Caesar Dahmer is now anything but normal.
You saw it to be a bad rainstorm, honestly.
The young couple decided to evacuate because of their 4-month-old daughter, Lila. They're glad they did. The floodwaters likely damaged a gas line, and their starter home exploded.
It's hard. We're gonna get through this.
They're treasuring something they found in the rubble.
Okay, we thank God every day, and we have family that's here for us.
So far, at least 49 people have died across the Northeast. That's a much higher number than in the South. A wake-up call for many officials here who say they are battling the effects of climate change. Alex?
Okay, stunning and shocking. Gabe, thank you for that. Now to Ellison Barber in New Orleans. Ellison, a very slow recovery there. So what's the latest on first of all, the power outage situation? How are people coping?
Yeah, power outage, that's been the big thing in New Orleans. Right now, Entergy, the big power company, they say they've gotten power back on for about 27% of New Orleans. They expect to have power on for the majority of New Orleans by next week, Wednesday, September 8th. For some of the really hard-hit areas, they say that they probably won't have power back on until the end of the month. It has been days since many people have had a hot meal. We met one man as he was going around to as many FEMA distribution food sites as he could because he was trying to get MREs, meals ready to eat, pre-packaged in a bag to feed his 4 young grandchildren. Things are hard for a lot of people right right now, but I want to show you some of the helpers. This is the Howling Wolf. Normally, it is a music venue. Instead, they have volunteers here making food, feeding anyone who needs it. They have fed about 15,000 people since Monday. It's not just sandwiches. They have hot food on the grills. They keep this going. The owner tells us they were here feeding people until almost midnight last night. I want to introduce you to him. This is Howie. He is the owner of the Howlin' Wolf. First of all, walk us through what y'all are doing here. Where did you get all this food and how are you making this happen?
It just kind of happened by accident. Monday we were sitting here checking to see if there was any damage from the storm. The power was out and people just started showing up 8 o'clock in the morning asking if we were going to be doing meals. We had started a program called mealsformusicians.org and people thought that the culture bears needed to be fed. So this is all coming from over 100 different restaurants. They unloaded their freezers and their fridges. We have refrigerated trucks to keep the food safe. But volunteers started showing up, smoking rigs started showing up, grills started showing up. We've got James Beard award-winning chefs that are out here, manning the grill, and it's been fantastic.
If we walk a little this way, I think we can actually see some of those refrigerated trucks, and I'll keep asking some questions as we walk here. When we were talking earlier, Howie, one of the things you said to me is that this is just what people in New Orleans do. Explain to me what you meant by that.
We take care of our own. We take care of each other, and we do it with a certain degree of flair and class and passion. You don't live in New Orleans and not feel it. You know how to take care of your neighbors. Nobody's out here talking politics. Everybody's talking about what they can do to help the people around here.
These trucks right over here in the back is where you have people just unloading massive amounts of food. You said all of this is from restaurants that lost power but had some generation. I think you just went actually and picked some more up.
We did actually a little while ago.
All right, so as we come back here, I will send it back to you shortly, Alex. But really quick, Howie, tell us, for people who are watching at home, if they're seeing this, they want to help send more food, how can they do it?
Well, the easiest way to do it is to go to mealsformusicians.org. There are 2 other nonprofits we work with, Culture Aid New Orleans. They're helping us with distribution. As people get power back, this isn't going to be as much of an issue. And then our favorite charity, the New Orleans Musicians Clinic, taking care of our culture bearers for the last several decades. They've all been great partners in this, and that's the way people can help.
All right, thank you so much for all you're doing. We appreciate it. Alex, we will send it back to you. This is just one example of things being hard, but people who live here experiencing it themselves oftentimes stepping up to try to help others out as well.
Oh my gosh, Ellison, you know what? I think this is the first time I've smiled in my heart when covering this story. And would you please tell Howie the world needs a lot more people like him. We're grateful for all of that. Thank you so much. So you may know by now one of the most high-profile Capitol rioters pleaded guilty, but there's plenty more in this 1-6 story today. We're going to tell you about some new threats from House Republicans to shut down the congressional investigation in one very critical way before it even really gets going.
Sponsored by Farmers Insurance. Get a quote at farmers.com.